I have a lot of nonfiction, which is kind of intimidating. Hi, I'm Josh and welcome to my channel. In this video, I'm going to be doing my May TBR. This month is the International Asian and Pacific American Appreciation Month, I believe. In honor of that, we have the Asian Readathon hosted by Cindy from Read with Cindy. There are 4 prompts plus a 5th bonus prompt, which I won't be participating in, because the 5th one is to read Little Fires Everywhere, a book that I've already read, a book that I read very recently, so I don't really want to reread right away. I had initially hoped to reread Everything I Never Told You by Celeste Ng, because it's something I wanted to reread and read a long time ago, but there were a lot of other things that I want to read this month, so I've decided not to dedicate my entire TBR to the Asian Readathon. So the first prompt is to read a book by an Asian author. Pretty straightforward. For this, I chose 1,000 Beginning and Endings, edited by Elsie Chapman, which is just a collection of young adult fantasy short stories. The next prompt was to read a book by an author who you can relate to in some way. And for this, I chose to read Warcross by Marie Lu for 2 reasons. Because one, the main character is like a hacker. They work in STEM, science and technology, and I'm a scientist, so I guess that's what it fits. And Marie Lu also writes a lot of science fiction, and I guess that connects us because I, again, am a scientist. I know it's a bit of a stretch, but I've decided to go with this. I guess I could have chosen a male author, but I didn't want to. The next one is the opposite, which is to read a book that has a character or an author who is different from you. And as a white man, obviously, I could have picked any Asian author or woman author, and that would have technically applied. But I wanted to, I guess, take it as far as I could. And for that, I'm going with The Island of Sea Women by Lisa C. And this is about these women in an island, on a Korean island of Jeju. I don't know what part of Korea that is. So there are a number of things about this that represent being different from me. Women, Korean, the fact that they live on this island, which suggests an entirely different lifestyle than my own, is distinctly different than me. So there's a lot about this that is very different from me, so looking forward to reading this. The last one is to read a book suggested or recommended by an Asian booktuber. And for this, I'm going to be reading The Starless Sea by Erin Morgenstein. I was really excited when I bought this, and then I got really unexcited once I started hearing the feedback or the reviews about this. It doesn't seem that appealing, honestly, but I've already bought it. I need to read it. And it's being recommended by Got a Thing for Things, and I believe her name is Sandra, who hosts that channel. So she was really adamant about this. It was a good reason to motivate me to read this book, which I need to read, even if I'm a little worried it won't be as good as I initially hoped it would be. And then I have 4 more books. The first 2 are thriller/horror. A Head Full of Ghosts by Paul Tremblay is a ghost horror story. In fact, I'll be doing a special video for this where I listen to this on audio while biking at night. And only at night. I'm hoping to get creeped out when I read this. I'm hoping it'll be like a full experience. I don't believe in ghosts, but unlike a lot of people, I can still get creeped out. I enjoy supernatural stories, even though I know they're not real. The next one is A Woman in Cabin 10 by Ruth Ware. Now, Ruth Ware is an author who I've only read one of her books by her. Lock Every Door, no, it's not right. The Turn of the Key. That was like the recommendation of Books and Lala, who did not rave about this book. But the main reason I'm reading this is because I bought most, if not all, of Ruth Ware's books. Simply because I figured they'd be fun, easy reads. And also because I found them at the local thrift store, so they were super cheap. The next one is a nonfiction, and it is Madam Secretary, a memoir by Madeleine Albright. And if you don't know, Madeleine Albright was the first Secretary of State, the first woman Secretary of State in the US. This is her story. I found this at a thrift store earlier this year, I think. And while my experience reading The Majesty of Law was not very great, I am approaching this with much more excitement for a few reasons. One, I feel like as a politician versus a Supreme Court justice, she has the ability to say more without pushback. 2, it's read by her, and also it's super long, so I'm hoping there's some really dense and a good amount of details in here about her life. I'm really psyched to be listening to her tell her own story. I know this isn't something that appeals to most people, but as a person who loves politics, I'm psyched to be reading this here. Now, the next one I'm reading is The Black Cabinet. This is a nonfiction book that I got from NetGalley. It comes out, I think, May 22nd. It is exactly as it says. It's about the role of significant Black Americans during the Great Depression era, during FDR's time. I am intrigued. I'm a little worried that I'll have trouble getting through it because for me, I enjoy a good nonfiction audiobook, but a nonfiction ebook or book is harder for me to get into. There are several of the books that I plan on reading, but they're all secret TBRs, so I won't be talking about them here, but I am really excited to be reading all of them. I take it back. Maybe I will mention 2 of them. So I'm going to be rereading The Demon Haunted World by Carl Sagan. And if you don't know, this is a book on science and skepticism. It's essentially like the foundation to the field of skepticism, where this idea of how is it we know what we know, how do we understand the world the way it is, and how do we differentiate between what is fake and what is real, pseudoscience and real science, the supernatural versus the natural. How do we know that there aren't aliens, that there aren't ghosts, so on and so forth. And this book is about tackling that. While I reread that for the first time, I'm going to be reading the new book called The Skeptic's Guide to the Universe, How We Know It Isn't So, by Dr. Stephen Novella, co-written by Cara Santamaria, Jay Novella, Bob Novella, and Evan Bernstein. These are all hosts of a podcast by the same name, which I absolutely adore. They're part of the reason that I'm so adamant or so passionate about skepticism. What I'm hoping to do here is read each of these side by side and then compare the 2. I'm curious how different their book will be versus how similar, and also how well it's going to be told. Because we're looking at this, it came out in 1996, I think, just before Carl Sagan died. So we're talking about a book that comes out 2.5 decades later, basically. I'm curious how much has changed and what they have to offer that is different or perhaps improved over what Carl Sagan had there. It's definitely going to be different in the sense that some of the issues in pseudoscience have evolved, but not entirely. So I'm really excited to be doing a read-through for each of those, and I'll be vlogging my entire experience, each book, and then also separately a vlog where I compare the 2 as I go along. That's coming up. At the end of this month is also the start of the Queerlit Readathon, which I do intend to participate in, because that starts like the 31st. I'm not going to include that here, but I do believe that is everything. Thank you so much for watching. I'm really excited for this month. I have a lot of nonfiction, which is kind of intimidating, but I'm still psyched. So I will see you next time. Bye.